It may be winter, but spring sports are registering now for Everplay Sports and Social. Barrett again from the All About Nothing podcast, and right now through February 19th, you can sign up for Tuesday's Super Rec Same Team Pitch Kickball at M Avenue, Wednesday Kickball at M Avenue, Thursday Kickball at B Avenue and M Avenue, Indoor Volleyball on Mondays at Tri-City Leisure Center, Tuesday Indoor Volleyball at Tri-City Leisure Center, Tuesday Sand Volleyball at Pollywogs, Thursday Sand Volleyball at Pollywogs, Sunday Softball or Monday Softball at Pacific Park, Tuesday Bowling at Bolero in Casey, Wednesday Cornhole at Jay's Corner, Monday Pickleball at Casey Pickleball Complex, or Wednesday Soccer at B Avenue and Bray Park Field. Check out everplaysocial.com for more information and registration. Again, everplaysocial.com. Everplay Sports and Social League. Play, socialize, and have fun.
The All About Nothing podcast may have language and content
that isn't appropriate for some.
Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, Nothingers, to another episode of the All About Nothing podcast. This is episode number 239. I am Barrett Gruber.
I am Zach King.
Welcome, Zach. Please subscribe and share the show, as this is how we get new listeners. Also, if you could, please consider supporting the show financially by visiting our website and clicking on the support link. We'll have more information about that at the end of the show. And if you can't do that, please drop us a review, hit the 5 stars, give us a thumbs up, or leave a comment. All of that helps drive us up higher in the show ratings on all of these podcast platforms. Welcome, Mr. Donald Brock Jr., to the program again. Everybody knows who Donald is.
I'm somewhat of a regular.
Brock. Yeah, you... Ultimately, if we gave out rings or like championship belts or something,
5-timers ribs,
you'd have at least
5-timers
2 gems.
club.
Yeah, we're going to start handing out robes for coming on the show as many times. So consider yourself a member of the 5-timers club. I think it's been 5 times, hasn't it? 1, 2. It's
probably
this has
close
to,
to it. If not,
right there,
definitely 4, if not 5.
Yeah, this has to be the 5th,
including the live show.
Yeah.
I forgot about that one. Yeah.
Let me get out of the way some of the business. Check out ZJZ Designs for apparel and gifts. New designs come out regularly with cool designs that you'll actually want to wear. There will be some St. Patrick's Day shirts and apparel and gifts ideas and things that are coming out for the St. Patrick's Day holiday. So check that out. ZJZDesigns.com. Also, Everplay Sports and Social Leagues right now are registering for new leagues that will start up in the spring. All the leagues are registering now. There's softball, kickball, dodgeball, volleyball, pickleball, all of the balls. Leagues are registering now, and registration ends on February 19th. Sign up now at everplaysocial.com. So, business is out of the way. We're going to get into it. So, Donald Brock Jr. is here, because March 1st and 2nd at the Wilmington Convention Center in Wilmington, North Carolina, is the 2nd Coastal Comic Con, and we're excited. I want to introduce Donald Brock Jr., who is the captain of the ship, the tip of the spear, the point guard, the maestro of the orchestra, the QB1, the puppet master, the pilot of the plane, the shepherd among sheep, the lead duck, the canary in a coal mine.
Shut the fuck up. Good God.
Donald Brock Jr. is the coordinator of the 2025 Coastal Comic Con. Again, March 1st and 2nd, taking place this year at the Wilmington Convention Center in Wilmington, North Carolina. Look, I had ChatGPT produce most of those. I didn't know some of those were a thing.
The canary in the coal mine. If Brock falls over, leave.
Yeah, exactly. The canary is the first one that dies. I don't want to be the canary. Jeez. Wow, savage.
That's okay. Look, so ultimately, because Zach and I have now done Soda City Comic Con, which is always an awesome event. First of all, what are some of the differences between Coastal Comic Con and Soda City Comic Con, besides location?
I mean, that might be the biggest difference.
Okay.
I mean, when you've got a formula that works, why change it?
Yeah, don't disagree at all.
I mean, we have, I'll just kind of walk through the building in my mind. We have the retro video game room.
Okay.
We have, an exhibit hall full of exhibitors and artists and our celebrity guests. We have the VR Villa, which is a cool, fun thing, and is always changing and having new titles being brought online. Yeah. We have our panel room, and this year we're bringing in a board game room, like a traditional board gaming room with what do you call it? Like, I don't know if RPG is the right word, but like tabletop, I guess. Like
Tabletop RPG.
Warhammer
TBRG.
40K, the Dungeons and Dragons,
D&D.
traditional board games. I mean, when I think of traditional board games, I think of games like, I don't know, Clue, Candyland, Monopoly.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, there's Settlers of Catan. There's all sorts of board games. So we
I gotta check out a 2-day Coastal Comic Con D&D campaign just to see what's happening.
That would be a lot of time that you spend. I don't want to say wasted time, but that's not my thing. But it'd be a lot of time that you invest in a D&D campaign. My son plays.
We can
D&D,
figure it
so
out.
I'm not going to knock
characters.
on it. Yeah, I'm not going to knock it. My son does D&D, and my daughter also does D&D at their middle school. So, and that's great that they're doing those extracurricular
D&D.
activities. Well, of course you do. In your mom's basement, right?
Yeah, my mom had a basement. That's where we'd be, Brock.
Well, I mean, I have watched Stranger Things. That's exactly where they played, in their mom's basement in 1984 or whatever. So, yeah,
That's fair.
But it's similar to Soda City, and so we've created a formula that we think works. It's fun. We feel like it's great value for what people pay. You can spend a day there just doing all sorts of fun things, and it's in Wilmington, which is a great coastal city. That
my
apparently
favorite
got
beach is Wilmington Beach.
4-ish inches of snow today, which is very unusual.
Fun.
Yeah, I saw pictures earlier on Facebook. Like Myrtle Beach was covered in snow. Charleston is blanketed in snow. It's unbelievable.
All was covered. Yeah,
that all these coastal areas, these coastal cities, are just got more snow than we got. And we got a little bit, which was okay.
Yeah, some reason where we live seems to suffer from the dry patch of air. So when the snow gets here, it gets over us, it starts falling, and then it just evaporates through Virga.
But when it's time for rain, it's like you get all the rain. Have fun with that.
Yeah.
And then it gets hot. We get our own natural saunas outside.
Yep.
Well, it's going to be March in Wilmington.
It's March. It's great weather.
The
Fantastic
event last year was at the same period of time, right? It was the same weekend.
Yeah, it was effectively like the very last weekend in February that bled into March. I think it was February 28th, March 1 or something like that, or maybe March 2 and 3. I don't know. I don't have a calendar in front of me.
Yeah.
If anyone's interested, they can look back.
But no, you're absolutely correct. Like that is a perfect time of year. We're done. We're basically done with winter and we're moving into spring. One of the things that always looms for Soda City Comic Con is that the fact that it's middle to end of August. So the first year we went, the first year that we did Comic Con was 2 years ago, and I didn't think it was too terribly hot. It was warm outside, but people that were in the lines didn't seem too uncomfortable, and nobody was passing out, so everything was good. Man, this past Comic Con, Soda City Comic Con in Columbia, the weather was unbelievable. Like the highs were only in the upper 70s for like mid-August.
It was great weather this past year. I think the prior year was also really nice weather. We've only had one weekend where it was just like scalding hot, and I'll give a shout out in a stick tap or whatever, ring the bells, whatever you guys have for our crew.
I like the stick tap.
Yeah, the stick tap. Yeah. Big Hurricanes fan, if anybody doesn't know. But
there we go.
Yeah, but our staff has just done a great job in really streamlining admissions and getting people through the door in a very timely manner so that you're not stuck outside for multiple hours in the heat. I mean, there have been times when it's been so hot that we've actually, brought in fans that we've set up along the way that would just move some air. But for the most part, it seems like the gods have smiled upon all the nerds that gather for Pop Culture Weekend in Columbia and have blessed us with nice weather. Of course, this year it'll rain on us because no good deed goes no good deed goes unpunished. But
no,
exactly.
Yeah,
I'm not going to adhere to that. It's going to be beautiful weather. We're talking about coastal. So let's start with Coastal Comic Con.
Yeah.
Coastal Comic Con is going to be perfect weather. By the way, tickets are available now. You can go to coastalcomiccon.com to get your tickets. I definitely so some of the vendors that are coming are some of the vendors that are going to be there in Wilmington. Are they some of the same vendors that we see in Columbia?
We do get some crossover. I like to think that we run a fun and successful event for the attendees and for the vendors, for artists. So when we launched this event last year, and I can say that because it is 2025, when we did launch it last year, there was a lot of interest from our Rolodex, as you like to say in the prior conversation, of vendors and artists. So they're more than happy to kind of follow us. I know there are other shows out there that kind of, tour all over the country, so to speak, and they have vendors that literally that's what they do. They just do all these particular shows. I'm not going to necessarily mention any names. It doesn't matter. But there are a lot of vendors who have told me personally, they'll say, Brock, whenever you do a show, I'm going to do your show. I don't care where it is. We're going to do your show. We think you do a great job. And that hearing something like that just gives you warms, gives you a little warmth inside on a cold January
I think we're
day.
included in that, right?
Sure.
No matter where you do your show, Brock, it could be hell. We will be there.
Well, we're all going to hell, so it doesn't really matter. We'll broadcast from hell at some point. Yeah.
Like that's a place.
Because that exists. Welcome to Michigan. Yeah. So
I've been to Ohio.
Do you have any?
Sorry.
Can you tell us the guests so far?
Well, yeah, we've announced all our guests. Let's see. I've got one, two, I'm missing. Oh yeah.
So we know 6. So I'll
I was writing some down because I'm trying to line up some different interviews for local radio up there. One thing that I find interesting about Wilmington
hold on. Local radio up there.
Yeah.
We are worldwide, man. You would not believe our German audience.
You wouldn't believe our Wilmington, North Carolina audience, which I am a hometown team fan of. I have family there and everything.
So they're listening? They're going to listen to this broadcast?
Absolutely, they do.
Are they going to come to the event?
A cop. I'll send them right there to shut the whole thing down. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, we actually have a cop on staff, so he's probably buddies with our Paul. We have a Paul. Is your family Wilmington WPD? Okay. Yep. Well, then I'm sure. Ask him if he knows Paul Raspin the next time.
I will.
Yeah.
Ask Paul if he knows Jamie King.
I'm sure he does. They all know each other. It's like one big fraternity. Who would have guessed?
So
it is.
So the guests.
Yes. Cal Dodd is coming back. Matthew Watterson and Matthew Watterson is best known for voicing Magneto on X-Men 97. Yeah. Cal Dodd is best known for voicing Wolverine on X-Men, the first iteration of the Fox show. And
92.
Yeah. They didn't call it 92, but I think that's when 92, 94. Yeah. And then
94,
and then relaunched in the new X-Men 97. A new guest we're bringing is Ross Marquand, who voices Xavier, Professor Xavier, and Apocalypse. Yeah. And he plays Aaron on The Walking Dead. And
Red Skull, Avengers Infinity War.
And he also, I was talking to him the other day on the phone. He was telling me he does Ultron on What If, or I don't know. He does a bunch of shit.
If James Spader is not there to do Ultron, it is Ross Marquand. And he also does the best Brad Pitt impression, which I did not know was a thing.
He does a lot of impressions, yeah.
He is fantastic. Zach sent me a reel of him doing all of the impressions that he does, but they're all ganging up on him like it's an intervention, and they're basically asking him to stop doing them. But he is so My
favorite was the Harrison Ford "knock it off."
So perfect. Good. Ross Marquand is a big get.
He's a nice guy. Nice guy.
Yeah. Matthew Watterson is honestly
one of the show favorites, from best interviews.
I mean, I think the only reason that we couldn't get Cal Dodd was just because Cal Dodd's line was consistently long. Everybody wanted to talk to Wolverine. Yeah. And Matthew Watterson's line was super long all the time too, but we just happened to find he came back from a break and we, they halted the lines for us.
He was go see him at Coastal, because he was such a fun interview, and he was honest with every question we gave him, and he was joking around sometimes with us. Just what a fantastic dude.
It was the quality of they certainly recognize themselves as they're sitting behind a table. They're there signing autographs and taking money for autographs and photos and things like that. But they're all just so unbelievable. Like everyone that you've had so far that I've experienced has been so down to earth. I will tell you this, as much as I loved meeting Matthew Watterson, Michael Bell was the best. Like, this dude had shit on everyone. the stories he was just talking to me and Zach about, like, his experiences with this guy or the things that he did here or MASH or whatever. Like, it was such a really cool experience to just get to talk to somebody who I didn't know who Michael Bell was, but we had an availability to go talk to him, and he just talked to us for like what, half an hour, Zach? Like,
and he would tell us stories like, he's like, you know what I told him? Fuck off. Like, we were just like, what?
When he was and then it was Call. No, the guy, the King Ezekiel from The Walking Dead. Kari Payton.
Kari. Don't call him Carrie. I'll call him Kari.
No, he corrected me. It was fun.
Kari Payton was just standing there. He had already wrapped up. We didn't really have enough time to get his attention a whole lot, and so I thought, hey, I just walked over and I was like, hey, if you have any time tomorrow, can we stop by and talk to you? And he's like, absolutely. And they're like, all right, we'll see you tomorrow. And then he just kept talking to us, and it just went on. Unfortunately, we didn't record it.
Well, we still don't have a lot of that released even yet.
No, yeah, I have stuff with Watterson and with Guy and let's see, Storm. I have stuff with
we found out Guy is he's from Brazil, but he's actually also a South Carolinian because he's from Lancaster.
Lander.
Yeah,
Lander.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you guys have a really talented way of getting getting these people to come to the shows. Is there? Well, okay, so Sam Witwer's going to be there. Of course, Sam Witwer, the voice of Darth Maul.
Got to interview him. He was fun too.
Yeah, he was a good guy. We've got Matthew Wood's going to be there, who's the voice of General Grievous, as well as the what are the battle droids?
Battle droids.
Yeah.
Well, he also plays. People don't really realize this. He also plays Bib Fortuna in the Book of Boba Fett, and maybe Mandalorian or something. I don't know.
They're like all the other ones. Mm-hmm.
But it's really cool. So, and then Caitlin
between
Robrock,
Sam Witwer and Matthew Wood, they do all the backup voices for every Star Wars film.
Oh yeah, they are. It's funny, like Sam Witwer is so integrated into the Star Wars universe that he has been known to correct like Dave Filoni and people like that.
Yeah,
in there, they're laying out the story, and he's like, "Well, wait a minute, no, that can't happen because this has already happened, and this has already happened." And they're like, "Oh, you're right." Like
this guy's a Sith, so he wouldn't do that. Yeah,
we can talk about some of these things offline because I have some thoughts on some of this, but he's extremely brilliant when it comes to the Star Wars universe. And Matthew Wood is he's been nominated for I think 4 Academy Awards for like sound editing and stuff like that. I don't think he's won one, which is kind of, you would think that, but you think he would have. But yeah, he's very good at what he does. They're very good at their trades.
Yeah. It's a really cool lineup that you have so far, and I know there are more coming. Is there any that you can tell us tonight that will release next week with this episode? Oh crap, we're live on YouTube and TikTok.
That doesn't matter. I mean, as of right now, there aren't any additional planned guests. That doesn't mean, and this always seems to happen. That doesn't mean that somebody won't fall into our laps. Because it seems to happen every year where there's, we're like, okay, we've kind of got everything taken care of, and then somebody comes knocking on the door, and we're like, we can work you in. So there is the possibility. We're somewhat limited in size. The exhibit, the venue in Wilmington is smaller.
Okay.
And it's one floor. And it's got really long concourses. I look, they call them concourses. We would call them hallways.
It's a baseball stadium. Yeah.
No, it's not a baseball stadium, but it's just weird though. It's the way a lot of these venues were not designed with events like this in mind. They just
Sure.
weren't. So you work with what you have, right? So, we're limited in what we can do. You'll see when you'll see when you come there.
Yeah. So
I assume you guys are still planning to come,
yeah.
right?
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I am definitely going to be there.
I'll be there for at least a day.
Yeah. That's the plan.
Barring any pregnant wife with twins.
Oh, yeah. Brock, did you know Zach's wife is pregnant with twins? Okay.
I mean, I don't think about it, but yeah, I remember somebody had told me that.
Nor should you. Yeah.
It's not me. It's not me, so I'm good. That's one less thing I have to worry about.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I'll be there at least for a day. And then the thing is, driving 3 hours back to Columbia will be a thing. So maybe a day and a night, and then check in that night and see how it's going. And then,
well, you say you have family there, so you should have a place to stay.
I could.
He's
I literally
to
could.
Family.
No, I'm saying wherever Barrett's staying, and the hotel better be just.
I was just gonna let Zach be the little spoon, and
I could do that. Let's do that. Yeah, it's all right.
Well, I got fussed at for calling you guys fat last time, so I'm not going to do that anymore. So y'all can work out whichever spoons you want to be. I just know that if you're both in the same bed, it will be warm and comfy.
I've lost 30 pounds, so here we are.
You know what? I'm working on losing some weight too.
Come on down.
I'm coming.
I did want to bring up too with Matthew Wood, the other non-Star Wars thing that I need to talk to him about. So that'll be the next topic.
And he does like to talk.
To him.
He will talk to you. He likes to talk.
There Will Be Blood is my all-time favorite movie, and he was nominated for best sound editing on that movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but how do you cut all the perfect lines that come out of that movie? I drink your milkshake. Me and my son HW. Well, Oilman, you see me, you know me as Oilman. It's the most quotable movie of all time. Like
it's
for
fantastic.
me, like if you've seen it, I love it. That I have to talk to him about that. He's like, no one talks about There Will Be Blood. I'd be surprised if people do.
That's a hell of a story.
He also
it's a hell of a story there, Zach. I haven't seen that movie, so I guess I'll have to check it out.
That's crazy. You haven't seen
Who's in it?
Daniel Day-Lewis, Paul Dano. Those are your big two drops. And
have you ever seen Gangs of New York?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yes. Okay. So it's
long time ago, but yes.
So it almost feels kind of like the same way the story's being told, but instead of it being about, being a gang lord or whatever in New York and, early years, it's about basically finding oil in I think it's in Texas or Oklahoma or something like that. And Daniel Day-Lewis's character is basically just a monster.
It's a Paul Thomas Anderson film, of that.
I might have actually seen that now, because when you first said There Will Be Blood, I'm thinking, oh shit, you got some stupid ass vampire movie, and then I actually might. It would have been this movie had to be 15 or 20 years ago, right? I mean,
it was about 2006, 5 or 6.
So
I think
almost
it came
20
out.
years ago.
Was that when Daniel
2007.
Day-Lewis was at his height because of Last of the Mohicans and stuff like that? Like when he was like one of the it actors?
This was after, but he
Wait,
had done
like
Lincoln.
10 years after Last of the Mohicans.
I think he had done Lincoln, or he was doing Lincoln. Look, Daniel Day-Lewis only comes out of retirement for like very specific roles, and it's always having to drag him out of retirement because he retires after every single movie he does.
And Paul Thomas Anderson also did like Boogie Nights, so it's that kind of surreal weirdness to it.
Yeah. It's
kind
really
of like I put Paul Thomas Anderson on that pedestal like Tarantino. To expect out of a Tarantino film. If you're gonna go see Paul Thomas Anderson, you kind of know what you're gonna get.
The point of all of that was that Matthew Wood did the sound.
Was the sound editor for that and was nominated for an Academy Award for that.
But he didn't win.
Another one.
I don't know. I don't think
he's won any of his nominations. Sadly,
but I think that even the movie won Best Picture. I believe.
I think you're right. I think it did.
Best leading actor in a leading role.
That was I think There Will Be Blood was the same. Was that the same year that No Country for Old Men came out? Like I want to say it may have been the same year. I don't remember exactly, but they're
close.
Two fantastic movies.
Best Cinematography Academy Award. Yeah, at least one, two.
I think one of the and for me the exciting thing is I have become such a fan. I've watched the X-Men 97 series 3 times now.
Really?
And just because it's so well done. Like the story is a combination of several of the different comic book storylines from the X-Men series. But it's just so well done. And then the way that in some of the episodes they switch back and forth between how they're presenting it. So and sorry, Zach, spoilers. So the last,
he still hasn't watched it yet.
I watched it.
Okay.
So the scene where Wolverine's getting at the adamantium pulled out, which is from the Fatal Attraction comic, that one has more of a very Japanese sort of style to it. So they switch between different genres in the series, but so I've become a much bigger fan of the X-Men 97 series as I've watched it several times, and the whole time I'm watching, I was 15 feet away from Cal Dodd. I was 15 feet away from Wolverine, and didn't go over there and say hello to him, but I stood next to Magneto the whole time, and now it looks like I'm on the bad side. But I guess Magneto's a semi good guy this series.
That's funny because that's why I finished it too. I was like, I met Magneto. There he goes.
He was right.
Carrying these people. Yeah,
he was right. Yeah.
For sure.
So as far as the Coastal Comic Con, one of the expectations I think that Zach and I have is that with the vendors that are going to be there this time, or I guess for this year, is it still sort of set up the same way? Do you have like comic book vendors next to artists and how it's spread out?
Yeah, this particular floor plan is everybody's just kind of interwoven. There's not necessarily an artist alley where it's clearly defined that these are vendors and these are artists. Everybody's in a 10 by 10. We highly encourage everybody to explore the exhibit hall multiple times, because you may walk by something and not really paying attention. Then you walk by and like, ooh, something catches your eye. So, it's a bigger exhibit hall than in Columbia. But all the other ancillary rooms, like I said, it's a smaller venue as a whole. So, there's about 100 and, 15 or so, 120, 10 by 10 booths in the exhibit hall. We've got our celebrities in there in the back. So, we encourage, I've got to find a place for you guys. I don't know where I'll put you yet, but
we don't need a table. We'll roam.
Well, you can roam, but if you want to film and maybe we can film. We can do something.
Yeah.
But if we can get a place to sit them down in person and just be like, give us why are you like doing this? Get some one-on-one time for 2 seconds.
Well, and here's the good news about our production setup now is that we've actually upgraded our equipment to the point now where we can be much more mobile. We have lapel microphones that we can put on people that we can hook up directly to a camera and record the entire thing without any audio loss or having
no microphones in hand. Just so everybody's
it's become a much easier thing for us to do and get quality video and audio out of it. So I'm excited about the fact that we'll be able to do that this time around.
Okay, cool.
As well as Myrtle Beach and Columbia. I think ultimately it's going to be, and we can go live if that's required. If that's available and we can do that, then we'll go live on all of the social media just so that people will know that Coastal Comic Con is going on. Also, those of you watching live right now, coastalcomiccon.com, you can get tickets right now. Plan your whole weekend.
Come to Wilmington.
Wilmington's
absolutely, and that's what's fun because we have evolved so much since Columbia, the last Comic-Con in Columbia, to the following on TikTok that's happening, to the technology that we have. It's funny how many steps we've taken. Because holding the mics, that was so hard to remember. Be like, all right, who's doing what real quick? But the lapel mics that work perfect, we've tested those. That's going to be great.
I'm excited. I'm excited. Let me see what else do we have to discuss as far as Comic-Con, because Coastal Comic-Con March 1st and 2nd, Wilmington, North Carolina, Wilmington Convention Center. This year we're going to we've got after that is August, where we'll have the Soda City Comic-Con, where information will start coming out around later this spring and in the summer. And then Myrtle Beach Boardwalk Comic-Con. So there's 3 this year. This will be the first year that you have 3 in a row. Well, 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna do one at Dirty Myrtle. It's gonna be fun.
Well, it's awfully cold, Myrtle, right now. So
Yeah,
it'll be nice. That'll be an interesting one, because we have over 100,000 square feet to fill up, and so this one, Myrtle Beach, will by far be the largest, probably 2x relative to the other venues. So that one will be fun. It'll be interesting to see what we do down there. Working on a floor plan.
I'm assuming. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Brock. Sorry.
No, I'm just thinking out loud.
No.
Really.
No, I was just saying. I'm assuming the Myrtle Beach, that garners attention. People know Myrtle Beach. Whether I remember going to California and they had brochures to go to Myrtle Beach, and I was like, "What?" Yeah, no lie. I was like, "Why?" Look, I think that's one that could be pretty big. I don't think you should have a problem.
I'm going to say this too. Myrtle Beach is one of the greatest places to go in October, because October is just after the top
Peak.
season. What do they call it? Peak season? Peak. Yep. And the cost of hotels is less expensive.
It's not that bad. No, it's not bad.
Because our kids, we either go to Charlotte for their birthday, or we go to Myrtle Beach, and mostly because of the cost.
I'll give a cheap plug for Myrtle Beach. It's been a long time since I've been to Myrtle Beach. When we went down there talking to them about bringing this event down there, we did get a tour. Some people are like, "Oh, that's funny, you got a tour of Myrtle Beach," but Myrtle Beach is not the same Myrtle Beach I remember when I was 12 years old, which would have been 30 years ago. Yeah, I say that like I'm super old, but anywho, it's different. It's Horry County and Myrtle Beach is one of the fastest growing areas in South Carolina, because a lot of people from up north and in the Midwest, they've sold their places, especially with the advent of remote work. They've sold their places. They've moved down. They want a milder climate, although they're probably sitting there kicking themselves today and be like, "What the fuck is this?" But
it's an outlier.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, we get here in Columbia or Blythewood, wherever, Lexington, where you guys are, like, we get snow, once every 5 to 7 years? Not even that frequently. A good snow. We might get, get some flakes, but a good snow, every 5 or 7 years, the Myrtle Beach gets it, I don't know, once every other decade maybe, or something like that. So yeah, it's an outlier.
Exactly.
But they're not going to get any snow in October, and it's going to be nice weather. They've really transitioned away from that dirty Myrtle look and reputation, and it's extremely family friendly. There's so much to do. We walked on the boardwalk. They got us, put us on that Ferris wheel that's on the beach. I am absolutely terrified of heights. Steve and Rebecca made fun of me the entire time. I didn't like it at all. But yeah, there's just so much to do. It's like you said, it's very affordable. Lots of great restaurants, lots of activities. You can come to Comic-Con. You can go sit on the beach in the evenings. You can walk around. It's just a lot to do. You can park and walk. It's become very walkable.
Yeah. The boardwalk, all that, the arcade, all that.
They're continuing to expand. They're continuing to expand the boardwalk. I think it's maybe a little over a mile, but they're looking to continue to add to that over, the next decade or so. It's really becoming a kind of a hot spot in South Carolina, where it used to be didn't have the greatest reputation, might not have been the cleanest city, but they've really cleaned it up. They really have. And right after peak is a great time.
Yeah, for sure. One of my favorite things to do. I went about 3 years ago, I think. But wait till 9:00, go down to the pier, walk out on the pier, go all the way down. It's just kind of that refreshing, you're just in the ocean a little bit, getting all that. People are fishing. Check out what they're catching. Yeah. Oh, it's a shark. God, that's great.
Yeah,
comforting. Yeah.
So for Coastal Comic-Con coming up March 1st and 2nd in Wilmington, is have we filled up the number of vendor spots available?
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
100%. That's exciting.
We will encourage anybody, if you want to be considered, send us an email. The email address is info@coastalcomiccon.com. I'm the one that monitors that email. We put you on our email list where we send out notifications for new events. We are in the process of soliciting for Soda City right now. It's our 10-year anniversary, or this is our 10th show. So we're gonna do something big. I don't know quite what it is yet. We're gonna do some cool things this year. We're always taking suggestions. So if people want to send us suggestions, info@sodacitycomiccon.com. We use a lot of the same emails, info@boardwalkcomiccon. So it's not hard to find us.
I'm excited about the 10th anniversary of the Soda City Comic Con too, because I have some ideas that I'll email in. But one of them,
here we go. I knew there was a catch.
Well, no, I'll just say one of them. I think that it'd be really neat to have either on the weekend of, or maybe leading up to the event, but like an event before the Comic-Con, whether it's a DJ or karaoke or something like that, before the event in the name of Soda City Comic-Con. But in line sort of with that, is there anything that's currently maybe in the cooking phase of events or anything that might be going on in Wilmington prior or during the Comic-Con?
Well, as we normally do at all our events, we do have a children's cosplay contest, and that's Sunday afternoon.
Okay, fun.
There is a strong possibility that we will do an adult cosplay contest, or 16 and over, let's just say, young adult to older adult. I don't really know what you call young adult to adult. That sounds weird. But
the number of old man Captain America that's going to show up, I think,
that'd be
is
awesome.
Going to be off the chain.
That'd be great. We are looking at doing an adult cosplay contest this year. I think it's going to happen. Don't put it down on your calendar that it's going to happen. But there's been some talk about that. There has been talk about bringing back the adult cosplay contest to Soda City. We have we're thinking about maybe having an after hours event at Soda City this year. Maybe a concert. That would be free. You just have to reserve the tickets. First come, first serve.
Yeah, that's really cool.
There's a couple of different things that we're trying to figure out how we could what we could pull it off, the logistics of in these various cities, because the more participation we can get from local businesses, the more buy-in we can get.
Just want to remind everybody, Coastal Comic Con is coming up in Wilmington, North Carolina, March 1st and 2nd at the Wilmington Convention Center. You can visit coastalcomiccon.com for tickets now. You can also see a lineup of all the guests that are going to be there. Do we have the vendors out, vendor map out yet? Or is that,
well,
that's coming?
My computer's in the shop, and I plan to do that this week, but hopefully I should get it back by the end of the week, and then I'll get that out there.
Well, the important part is that it actually says it's sold out. So I think that's fantastic. That for the second, was it sold out last year?
Oh yeah.
Okay. See, I know
really?
It's you.
Really?
It's Brock. It's Brock. I know he's going to.
What kind of place you think he's running here?
That is. I look. We're excited about it, and we look forward to being there and participating and driving your crowds wild with our talent.
Well, I'll tell you this: the crowd in Wilmington, we didn't exactly know what to expect year one. Obviously, we felt that there was an opportunity in Wilmington, and my partner Steve lives in Wilmington. He actually technically lives in Belleville, which is right across the river, but it's it is Wilmington. There's all those, kind of like Columbia has Blythewood and Lexington and Chapin and Forest Acre, stuff like that. All these little communities in and around the metro area. But we didn't know what to expect. And the crowd in Wilmington last year was extremely diverse. We had, very young kids up to, we saw two older ladies that probably were in their late 70s, if not 80s, if not older, walking around. And so, you say you're going to wow the crowd with your antics. Like, it's a very diverse crowd.
I'm excited.
It's fun.
I think it's going to be fun.
In the city of Wilmington, it's one of the older cities in the country.
Yeah.
It's very walkable. There's a great downtown area. Once you're kind of down there, you can literally just park and walk. Kind of like Charleston, but Yeah, it's kind of like Charleston, I guess.
Wilmington's the best. That was always growing up our preferred beach destination. I love that city.
Yep.
That town.
And I spent I throughout my younger adult age, we spent weekends, or we would rent houses out on Oak Island,
Mm-hmm.
and then come into Wilmington for some of the nightlife.
Yep.
But it's a cool town, a lot of history.
Yep.
Your Wrightsville Beach or Carolina Beach. It's just fun.
Yep.
So very cool. Again, everyone check out coastalcomiccon.com. That's where you're going to find tickets and details about the Coastal Comic Con coming up March 1st and 2nd at the Wilmington Convention Center. I don't want to let you go without talking a little bit about what is going on in Blythewood. We have the manufacturing plant for Scout's 2 electric vehicles that has kicked off. That's now in full swing.
Oh yeah.
How long? And for people that don't know, Scout, of course, used to produce before I guess they retired their product. But the Scout International truck was one of the most epic vehicles you could drive almost anywhere. When you watch Discovery Channel movies or videos from like the 70s, 80s, 60s, whatever. Like if you watch any of these old documentaries, what you see them driving around in is these Scout Internationals. And now Scout has chosen South Carolina and Blythewood specifically to have a manufacturing plant where they're going to be producing 2 brand new electric vehicles. And if you haven't seen them, check them out on YouTube. There are plenty of people out there doing reviews of these 2 new vehicles, and I think they're fantastic. And I'm hoping
I'd like one. Yeah,
I'm hoping that when the 1 or 2 of the first ones roll off the line, that Brock can get us in touch with an operations manager that will let us do an episode from inside of one of the Scout vehicles. I think that'd be pretty neat.
We'll see.
I'm just saying. I think that would be a pretty cool thing to do. And honestly, if I could afford, and actually, I don't think they're going to be all that expensive. They're not like they're epically expensive electric vehicles.
I guess it depends on your definition of expensive.
Less than a Cybertruck.
Probably your Ford Lightning area of.
Damn, Barrett, everything's most vehicles are less than a Cybertruck. Those I'm not really keen on those. So
my house at one point was less than a Cybertruck.
My first house that I bought was less than a Cybertruck. Yeah.
But they are really cool vehicles. You had an SUV and you have a truck, and I'm excited that Scout chose South Carolina. I know they came here for some of the tax breaks and incentives and things like that, but it's good for South Carolina. I think that when it came to, because did you or did your predecessors have anything with presenting to Scout why they should come to Blythewood?
No, not directly. The town, that was more of a county and state thing. I think Richland County Economic Development and the State Commerce kind of took the lead on that, because the property that Scout's being built on is owned by the county. The Economic Development bought that property. So, I have worked with some members on that committee, or that. It's not a committee. That's not the right word. I guess it's a subsidiary. It's a department, I guess, within the county government. Although I think they're dissolving it, and they're going to create some sort of public-private partnership type entity now. But when the industrial park where Scout is currently located was originally drawn up, the idea was to have like 25 different sites, and they were going to build like a pour pad and build like a spec building, with the 150, 200,000 square feet, something like that. And they had a couple of companies that were interested in coming. A couple of them fell through. Doesn't really matter at this point. It's all water under the bridge. But, then Scout was looking for a place. I think there was a site in Mississippi and maybe one in Kentucky, to what they were looking at. And, a lot of people have complained about, the state sold out. The taxpayers are paying for this. If we didn't, they wouldn't be here. So, my business partner always tells me you got to spend money to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it holds true. And South Carolina put up a significant amount of incentives, infrastructure incentives. They're building a new interchange. They're widening roads. We're putting in the infrastructure, which Blythewood needed anyways. I guess Zach's gone, but Blythewood needed it anyways, because the Northeast is just growing leaps and bounds. And the critics will say, well, this is just going to add to the growth in the Northeast. Maybe it might speed it up, but people were going to come in this
Oh
direction
yeah.
just because we have good schools, we have a good quality of life. All your services are up here. So, now you've got jobs that can
Yeah.
cater to the people that are living here. The great
Yeah.
thing about a manufacturer and an employer like Scout is that you can find 60, 70, $80,000 jobs, out of high school with a little bit of technical training that you didn't have before. And if you
Right.
think about it, if you just do some simple math, if you have 4,000 jobs that pay an average of $60,000, I mean, that's almost $250 million right there
Yeah.
annually,
Exactly.
not
Exactly.
just one time. So it really does put a lot of money back into the local economy, the state economy, and it will ultimately be a good thing. Again, people are not thrilled about it. Oh, you've destroyed this sleepy little town. Well, Blythewood was a sleepy little community until I-77 cut it in half, either it's
Yep.
either late 70s or early 80s. When 77 came through, it's only a matter of time. Development follows interstates. Don't be surprised when this happens. And if people don't like it, for the most part, we live in a free country. I mean, I'm not telling them that to pack up their bags and move, but they have that option. Your
Yeah.
your property's going
Now,
to be worth more.
yeah, and you're not wrong. The idea that Scout could have gone to any one of those other sites. They
I think
could have
there
gone to
was
another state.
I think there was either 30 something or 40 something other sites that were actively
Yeah.
courting them. I mean, you don't land a international vehicle manufacturer every day. And their
Right.
and their lead investor is Volkswagen. Everybody knows this, and they're like one of the top 5 or 6 employers in the world. And if
Yep.
you hear all the they're laying off people, this, that, and the other. Well, yeah, economies are cyclical. You have your booms and your busts, but they know what they're doing. So this
Yeah.
isn't some fly by night operation.
I think that it's good for South Carolina. I think it's good for Blythewood, and I'm excited for it because I ultimately that's one of the things that when I first moved here, I was part of an organization that moved here and created 3,000, 4,000 jobs in West Columbia. I worked for NCR. NCR promised to bring jobs, and but NCR is a software company. They used to be hardware, but they're a software company. And the problem with software companies like that coming to South Carolina is that it doesn't take anything for them to pack up and leave. And a company like International Scout coming or Scout, sorry, Scout coming in, there is a foundation that cannot be abandoned without unbelievable cost to themselves
Yep.
in this situation. And so basically what's happened is now Scout has invested in South Carolina, their future. And they've done it because South Carolina has companies like Lockheed Martin. We've got companies like BMW that are here in, whether it's in
Boeing,
Greenville or in
Volvo.
Charleston. Yeah, Boeing, Volvo's here. I mean, this is a state that is friendly to these large companies. And you're going to get your naysayers that say that, it's hurting the economy. It's hurting the traditional South Carolinians that have been here for generations and whatever. But it's like, look, that hurt is going to be felt everywhere by everything. It's
Well,
going to happen regardless.
Well, Barrett, I mean, if you really want to think about it, a traditional South Carolinian is not a very wealthy individual. They're
No,
just
that's very
not.
true.
They're just not. So if you want to stay living in that socioeconomic level, then you're welcome to do that. But there are others that want a
Yeah.
better life for themselves, for their children, for their children's children. And the only way you're going to get that is if you innovate and bring in employers that are going to be able to help people rise up. This could change, be a generational change for a lot of people because you can work. And again, there's nothing wrong with people who work in the service industry or they work in jobs that pay 15, 16, $17 an hour. But imagine if you can learn a skill and double your hourly wage with insurance and
Yeah.
retirement and
Oh,
benefits,
yeah.
all the other benefits. Like, why would anybody be opposed to that? Like, you're
Yeah.
improving thousands of people's lives, and it's not. I feel like I'm on a speaking tour for Scout. Scout has their problems. Don't it's not walking down the yellow brick road to find the wizard, and the wizard has all the answers because there's if you told me earlier that you spend a lot of time watching the SCE TV feed at the General Assembly.
Yeah.
There are some there are some issues that are going to come down the path probably this year with Scout. And,
Yeah.
that's for the General Assembly to decide. I have my opinions. It's not my place to express them necessarily, unless I was asked by somebody. But you're not asking, so I'm not telling. But, I forget where I was going. But
Well, it has a lot to do with the basically it's about, I think for a lot of people it's about how is this going to affect my daily life, and where is, it's the town count, you
I
have.
remember where I was going.
Okay, go ahead, go for it,
No,
go
I'm
for it.
just saying, like, hey, how's it going to affect my life? Well, it might not, like me personally, it probably won't affect me directly. I'm probably not going to go work for Scout, which is fine. Um, one of my kids might, though. You don't
Right.
know. Maybe one of them becomes a civil engineer or a mechanical engineer. Maybe one of my neighbor's kids. There's plenty of kids that live in the neighborhood that I live in. Even though we have 50 houses, there's plenty of kids. Maybe one of them goes to work for Scout. They don't have to go to Charleston. They don't have to go to Charlotte. They don't have to go to Greenville or a major city on the East Coast to find a good quality job, an innovating job. Because
Yeah.
automobile manufacturing is always innovating. And what I was going to say is, Scout will impact thousands of lives. They're going to hire 4,000 plus people eventually when they ramp up into 3 shifts. But it's not just the jobs that Scout creates, it's the jobs that Scout brings with them. Like the Scout plant, they're not, and I say this, they're not actually manufacturing vehicles, they're assembling vehicles.
Right.
They're getting all the
Right.
parts and they're putting them all together to make a vehicle. But they don't make the parts there. They make the parts all over the place. And you have these OEM suppliers, and they're also going to create jobs because
Yep.
there's somebody making the headlights. There's somebody making the batteries, which, they're electric batteries, whatever. There's somebody that makes Michelin might make the tires or they get them from somebody else. Every component that goes into that vehicle is made somewhere else. So
Yeah.
all those are jobs, and they're probably not going to be too far away because, as you know, if you're making a product and you're 1,000 miles away, you got to get it to the assembly plant. That if you're shipping something 1,000 miles, that costs you some money. But if you're only shipping it 20 miles, that's so much better. So there's going to
Oh
be a
yeah.
lot of jobs that are created. I call them ancillary jobs. They're the support for the assembly plant.
Yeah. And well, and what else is it going to do just for the region in general?
Oh
Because
yeah.
when you bring in something like this, like, because I lived in Atlanta when Ford was building the Taurus in Doraville,
Mm-hmm.
and the number of people that work, like you said, 3 shifts, the number of people that work there, the amount of support that plant provided for the Doraville, Chamblee, Tucker area, and the number of people that said, oh yeah, like they worked there, their neighbors worked there, and it was a huge community, spread out, of course, but it was a huge community that supported it. Hell, we Ford became one of the sponsors of the high school football teams and the baseball teams and things like that. So there were so many little benefits that seem minuscule when you look at them one by one, but then you find out, oh, the team didn't have to buy their uniforms this year, which normally falls on the parents.
Mm-hmm.
The team's uniforms were paid for by Ford. So these are all these little things that I don't think people always recognize that are the benefits to having a major corporation like Volkswagen Scout come in to a situation like this. Not that Blythewood needed the help, but Blythewood, I think the opportunity for Blythewood to become a better, and this is going to offend people, but a better version of Harbison or Irmo is totally there. As far as growth for Blythewood, is there anything that's been discussed or anything that you all have seen from the county or from the city council or the town council portion of it that might be in the works that could be discussed at all?
I mean, not really, simply because the town of Blythewood is pretty well developed. Like
Yeah.
there aren't a lot of large parcels in town that are lacking development. I mean, there's a couple of them that may be 60, 80 acres, but nothing, nothing big. So most of what surrounds Blythewood is unincorporated Richland County. So I say that to preface by saying, like, we only have a say in what happens within the town limits, right?
Yeah.
So if Blythewood wants to continue to grow, then we've got to annex, which there's pros and cons to that. And it's not as simple
Sure.
as just knocking on somebody's door, say, hey, we're going to annex you, There's a couple of procedures or methods, I guess that's the better word.
Here's your muffins.
Yeah. There's more to it than just, sending somebody a letter and say, hey, do you want to annex into the town? I mean, they can
Yeah.
choose to. But there have been a couple of other businesses that I've heard that may be willing to come here. I don't want to. I don't know
Sure.
if I'm at liberty to say about it,
Sure.
because it may not materialize. But when you bring in a large employer like that, you are going to have businesses that follow. There'll
Yeah.
probably at some point be another hotel. There'll probably be a hotel on the other side. I live on the if you're riding up 77, I guess that would be the east side. Of Blythewood. The west side is where Scout is. I live on the east side. I suspect there'll be a hotel on that west side. I suspect at some point we'll get another grocery store. There will probably be some sort of recreational outside of golf in town. A couple of additional restaurants, maybe some additional shopping. Where's it going to be? I don't know. It could just be at Killian. Still be at Killian. But when BMW located in Greer. I mean, look at Greer and Taylor's and Simpsonville and Travelers Rest and Malden and all those little communities. I mean, they all grew up, and it's all thanks to BMW. So Blythewood should be the same.
Well, I'll kudos to the job that you and the other council members and Mayor Sloan are doing in Blythewood, because from the perspective of someone that lives in Lexington, and don't get me wrong, I don't have any issue. I don't have any real concrete issues with anything going on in the town of Lexington. I don't live in Lexington. I don't live in the town of West Columbia. I live halfway between the two, but I have a relationship with the mayor of West Columbia, and I have a relationship with some of the people that are in the council in Lexington. And sometimes now Mayor Tim's fantastic in West Columbia.
I know him.
But Lexington, sometimes I question maybe some of the decisions that get made. Mayor Tim is very upward and upfront about the decisions that are being made from a city council for West Columbia. Their meetings are completely open, and you can get in touch with almost any of them anytime you need. But Blythewood is one of those communities where if I didn't want to live this close to the airport because my job was there when I moved here, Blythewood's one of the places that I probably would have considered moving. I'm not going to move because I don't want to buy another house. I don't want to have the responsibility of a mortgage anymore. Now that that's all done with, it's just it's better for me to stay until I die. But so again, just I think the job that you all do in Blythewood and the things that I read in the State or in the Post and Courier of the things that go on in Blythewood, I think you guys are doing a good job, and I think you should pat yourself on the back. So the only other thing I was going to say is, look, anybody that's watching this episode, I know that I just want to put it out there because we have gained a fairly substantial number of followers and subscribers here in the last few weeks. Donald Brock is not one of the liberal Democrats that we normally get on this show. Donald Brock, to me, is more middle of the road, potentially libertarian, adjacent to Democrat and Republican. And these are the kind of people that we would really like to get on our show to talk about the stuff that's going on around in Columbia. We'd like the opportunity to have guests that have differing opinions from us, because if Brock has a different opinion, he will tell me.
Yeah, I'm pretty. I lack some tact every now and then. Tact.
I was going to say,
tact.
It usually comes with being punched right in the ear, but it's
well, you used the word liberal Democrat. I would not label myself a Democrat. If I had to pick a party, I would probably say Republican, and I say that by prefacing that I don't like what the party is doing right now. So if somebody says,
Sure.
"Oh, you're a Republican, you're a big fan of Trump," no, I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of Trump. I don't hate everything that Trump wants to do. I mean, there's I'm not going to bullshit around and be like, oh yeah, Trump's the Antichrist. No, I don't think Trump's the Antichrist. Trump's just a man. And the country spoke, and you know, we've got 4 years to deal with it. I mean, it could be shorter. I mean, he could die. I don't know. I mean, he'll be the oldest president if he serves out his full term that we've ever had. So
Right.
something could happen. Who knows? I certainly don't would think that anybody would try to shoot him. I think that was if you want to find a way to motivate a political base, try to assassinate the leader. And then I'm trying to remember where I was. Oh, I was in Charleston that Saturday when that happened. I remember this. And somebody sent me a text or called me and said, "Hey, did you see that somebody tried to kill Trump?" And the first words out of my mouth was, "Well, this election's over." That's it.
Yeah.
That was it. That day, it was in July, I think, if I'm not mistaken. That was the day that, in my opinion, he won the race. Because you want to light a fire under some of these people's asses? That's the way to do it.
I got a very similar text because I think I was watching a Braves baseball game and I got a text message. I think it was from Zach, and he sent me a message. He said, "Dude, are you watching the news?" Or maybe it was Leroy, but it said, "Dude, are you watching the news?" And I was like, "No, what's up?" He said, "Somebody shot at Trump." And I said, without even thinking, all I texted back was, "Well, that's convenient," because ultimately the stars aligned.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and I don't necessarily believe that there was any pre-planning on it. I think this was just a kid who had felt disenfranchised, didn't have any friends, and decided he wanted to make a name for himself by doing it. And ultimately it didn't really work because no one, if you just ask someone on the street that knows that it happened, they can't tell you what his name was.
I have no clue what his name
that
is.
He was a 22-year-old kid that was basically stuck in his parents' bedroom and didn't really have anything going on. His parents were Trump supporters. They bought some 7 or 8 signs to go to his campaign that showed, that were all strung in front of their front yard. And this was a kid that if it had been Biden, he had shot at Biden. It didn't matter who it was. It didn't have anything to do with politics. It was about trying to make a name of himself, and ultimately it failed.
Yeah, and there's absolutely no room for violence related to politics. You don't have to like the president. You don't have to like the vice president, the Congress, Supreme Court justices, whomever. But there's no reason for anybody to ever go out and try to end someone's life because I don't know, feel either, like you said, feel disenfranchised, or you feel bad, or you feel like life's dealt you a bad hand. Like we're not trying to give I don't know, a speech for encouraging people to get therapy or whatever.
This is not a TED Talk.
Yeah, it's not a TED Talk. But at the same time, like, people got to wake up, and yeah, like, if you're unhappy about the election, okay, it's okay. There were the same people that are happy today were extremely unhappy 4 years ago, and they got through with it. Do I think that some things happened, approximately 4 years ago that they've kind of decided to forgive and try to forget and all that stuff? Yeah, the J6ers, as they call them, not thrilled about that. But
I will just so my opinion on that was, we all knew that Donald Trump was going to pardon them because it was a campaign. It was a campaign promise.
Yeah, don't be upset about it.
Yeah, there cannot be shock about the fact that he fulfilled a promise. Did he? And ultimately, I saw the signing because they aired it in front of I saw the executive orders being signed. And then,
you know what they do? Like, he signs and then he'll hold it up like this, like he's showing off like a baby, like, hey, look at this. Like, nobody cares,
I wonder if we have that to look forward to for every bill that he signs into law and every executive order.
They do that. Don't they sign like 4 or 5 different copies and they hand people pens and?
Yeah, but they don't usually rent out an arena for 20,000 people to stand there and watch. I
wouldn't. Is that what they did? I'm completely. Yeah. So he held a rally to sign executive orders, and he signed them and held them up. And they all cheered.
In his defense, it would have been, I don't think they would have done that originally. I think they would have originally he would have signed executive orders in the president's room at the Capitol. That's where it would have taken place for a lot of that. But I think because The decision was made to move the inauguration indoors. Therefore, people that would have been on the parade or people that would have potentially been on the mall for the inauguration, they didn't get to be there for it. So they held a smaller venue at the arena, which only holds like 20,000, like maybe standing room only 21,000. But it's a much smaller facility. And but yeah, so what they did was they brought a desk out and had him signing executive orders. And there was his what do they call it, his groomer or whatever it is, the person that stands next to him and tells him what this is for and whatnot. It was, and they didn't sign all the executive orders there. They just did some of the bigger ones that were going to draw a lot of emotion out of the crowd. It was entertaining to watch. But you know, I'm not a Trump fan. I just exist in this Trump world.
Well, you know, but no one should be surprised at any of this stuff.
Yeah, of course
I mean,
not. He's a showman.
He's an entertainer at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's made himself quite a fortune on business deals, real estate deals, and providing entertainment. And he's really captured a segment of the country that just believes in what he says and what he stands for. And again, there were some Trump policies that he enacted from 17, I guess, to 21 or whatever, that I thought were just fine. But I'll also take the same position if there was stuff that Biden did that I thought was fine. There's stuff Obama did. There's stuff George Bush did that I have no problem with. You know, you're not gonna. There's no such thing as a perfect candidate, right? There's not a candidate that's going to make 100% of the people 100% happy 100% of the time. This just doesn't exist. You just have to ask yourself. I think I was with some friends down in Atlanta, and this was before the election, because I think one of the things that I think this was certainly one of the things that Trump on the campaign was talking about, is he would ask people like, is your life better now than it was 4 years ago? And honestly, contrary to what people want to say about inflation and this, that, and the other, I think for most people the answer is yes. Their lives are better. My life is better today than it was 4 years ago. The stock market continues to increase. I'm employed. We have successful businesses. You know, people have more control over the positives and negatives in their daily life than the federal government ever will.
100%.
And sometimes you just got to get off your ass and just get going, because the only person who's going to really help you is you.
Yeah. I think when I look at my reaction to some of the things that happened in 2017, I have evolved from that to recognize that, look, I some of the things that I disagreed with aren't necessarily, and some of it is because some of the policies sometimes seem like they are specifically designed just to disenfranchise somebody. Do we have an immigration problem here in the United States? We do. We don't have a perfect border situation. We don't have a perfect immigration system. And so I agree, that is a problem. Are we handling it the way that I think we should? No, because ultimately when it comes to immigration, we as the United States are a dying country if we don't have immigrants coming to our country. Do they need to come here legally? 100%.
Yeah.
In order to get them here legally, we need to do better about the immigration system we have in place. That means more judges. To secure the border, we need more border enforcement.
Well,
I don't know that walls actually fix anything, but you know, I'm not an engineer a civil engineer that can wrap my head around that completely.
Well, but we've gone from one extreme to the next. So, and somewhere in between is the answer.
Yeah. Ultimately, Congress needs to come up with a solution, and Congress isn't doing anything.
Since when has Congress ever come up with a viable solution for anything?
The 60s.
Well, yeah.
we had the Civil Rights Act, or the equality. That was sort of a big deal. But then we went right into the Vietnam War. So mistakes were made.
No person is perfect. No Congress is perfect. No government's going to be perfect. People criticize this country all the time, and I just kind of want to be like, well, where else would you rather go?
Yeah.
Where else can you go and have the same opportunities? Like, you have opportunity. It's not anybody else's fault if you don't take advantage of the opportunities that you're presented. It's not really given; it's presented, and if you choose not to take advantage of it, yet you sit around and complain because woe is me, everything, I don't get, well, I don't really feel that bad for you because, Steve and I started a business and we didn't know what the hell was going to happen with it. We didn't know if it was going to be successful. We put in a lot of fucking time, effort. You put in resources. It takes away from your family. I mean, when you run your own business in this country, like you work 24/7. If something happens, like
Yeah.
with like your podcast, like if you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it for you.
Yeah.
It's the same
You
thing with
have to.
with an event or starting a company. Like, people, and I don't want to knock like my kids and your kids and a younger generation. But there's, of course, people are going to love to hearing this, but this is the segment of the program, ladies and gentlemen, where we get to express our opinions and we're not judged.
Quit judging us.
Yeah. This is not the opinions of Soda City Comic Con or the town of Blythewood or anything. These are my opinions and I own them.
You can hold the All About Nothing podcast accountable for them.
No.
I'm here for it.
But we gotta get past this entitlement that a lot of people and a lot of Americans, and it might not just be Americans. The only reason I say Americans because that's who I'm exposed to every day, right? But a lot of people just have some like I deserve this, I deserve that, or I should have this, I should have that, just because either I'm born or whatever. Like, we people.
There's a sense of privilege that people feel,
Yes, privilege and
give them
entitlement.
this. Yeah.
And it's got to end. Like one thing, like we can go back into politics. Trump is. I don't think anyone can say that Trump is not pro-America. I think that'd be a hard argument. That
Yeah.
they say, oh, he's in love with Vladimir Putin. Yeah, I don't buy that. I think that's some pomp and show. That's what the media wants you to think, or one side of the media wants you to think.
I think he just wants to be a part of the club.
Well,
And Vladimir
he's the leader of the
Putin's-
club. He don't have to be a part of the club. He's the leader.
Yeah, but I think he wants them to like him. I think that's that is because
If I'm the president of the United States, nobody has to fucking like me.
Well, and
You don't have
that's
to.
you and me.
Yeah,
That's
you don't
you
have to like me.
But I have experienced Donald Trump in person at radio conventions that we did when he was doing Celebrity Apprentice. This is and it's not, he is not that the images that you saw of him sitting next to Obama at Carter's funeral, that is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a guy that wants people to like him. At the surface, this is him as an individual. He wants people to like him. He wants people to like him. He wants to be a part of the group. He wants to be included. And ultimately, the Republicans have figured out with Donald Trump, if they just continue to feed in that ego, now it diverts. It gets sidelined by the fact that he already has an ego, but they know that they can control him in a lot of ways because all they have to do is just tell him everything. JD Vance stands there. JD Vance is I don't particularly like some of his politics, but I recognize the dude is a fantastic actor because he will stand right there behind Trump, and it doesn't matter what comes out of Trump's mouth, he is going to applaud it every single time. And that is essentially how the Republicans were able to court Donald Trump, and then Donald Trump took over. So, but I'll just say, in person, on a watching him interact with the people that I worked with at radio stations with, genuinely one of the most friendly individuals you could potentially meet. He would, if you needed a chair, he'd make sure somebody got a chair. Like, genuinely very friendly. The guy that I see saying the stuff that he does on Truth Social, that's a different guy. That's our president.
Well, it's a different platform. He's talking to a different base, a different audience. Like, I suspect that most of these national politicians, if you kind of sat them down one on one, you're going to get a different person because when the cameras are on versus the cameras are off, I don't. Again, you might not, like you said, you might not agree with all his policies, but I mean, there are some that you get, people very much like, yeah, okay, that's common sense, that makes sense. America first. Let's make stuff in this country. Let's bring jobs back to this country that have been lost and stuff like that. Everybody would be like, yeah, we should do that, no problem.
Yeah, which ultimately is Trump and Biden agreeing on the same thing. Let's bring the jobs back to the United States. The Biden did the same thing. The CHIPS Act brought jobs back to the United States. Like, these are things that Biden did. But if you tell that to somebody, if you say that, well, I support Donald Trump because he wants to bring jobs back to the United States. Well, Biden did that.
Yeah.
Biden's administration brought jobs back to the United States. I mean, we produce the chips now that have lowered the cost of vehicles in the country. So, it's
well, we learned during COVID that you need to have the important parts of these vehicles and other
used cars became ultimately the thing that people were trying to buy the most because we didn't have new vehicles being produced because we didn't have the chips. The demand just wasn't there.
Yeah, I think Taiwan Semiconductor is actually now building a mega site, I think, in Arizona. That was part of the CHIPS Act. Well, they also identified that as a potential national security risk because if China decides to take over Taiwan and then they basically confiscate all the businesses, then we're relying on Taiwan to get our chips and
there's always going to be that potential threat of some security risk to the whole idea behind TikTok being a security risk, national security risk is, I've read through the TikTok agreement, terms of service agreement, the same as I've read through the Facebook. I haven't, because honestly, I don't care. I mean, but I do recognize when it comes to, and this is nothing against TikTok, but I do recognize that there is potentially an issue with TikTok when it comes to national security, because I know that members of our military, members of the government, people that work for the federal government, they cannot have TikTok on their phones because of that attachment between ByteDance, TikTok, and the Communist Party of China. So I recognize that there is a potential security risk. What I wish they'd do is I wish that Congress would just come out and tell, they've made a law, they've banned it as a law. So just tell us what it was. Just inform us, and because it's not giving anything away that China doesn't potentially know.
Yeah,
they know where they know where they're crossing the line. Just tell us. That's my biggest issue.
Yeah,
with that whole thing. But anyway, all right, we digressed enough.
Yeah,
I can smell dinner cooking in my nostrils.
I gotta go get something to eat too.
So I'll just do this. Make sure check out coastalcomiccon.com. Coastal Comic Con is going to be in Wilmington, North Carolina at the Wilmington Convention Center, March 1st and 2nd. Again, coastalcomiccon.com for tickets and more information. You'll be Sam Witwer is going to be there, Matthew Wood, Cal Dodd, Matthew Watterson, Caitlin Robrock, and Ross Marquand. A fantastic lineup of celebrities to be there. I am very excited. I am really thankful to you, Brock, for dragging us along. I know it's been kicking and screaming sometimes, but you seem to absorb the pain pretty well. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
No, I tell you what. I'll make an interesting offer. If any of the viewers of this podcast come to the event and they find me and introduce themselves and tell me that they saw this podcast, I will give them a t-shirt for the event, a free t-shirt from the event.
It's very cool.
How will you know it's me? I will probably be the only one running around in a hockey jersey. So you'll see me in a Carolina Hurricanes hockey jersey because I'm giving up a weekend. They have a Saturday and a Sunday game at home in Raleigh that weekend. They're playing the Oilers and the Flames, and I really want to go, but I can't go, obviously. So I'll be probably listening to the game in my ear during the day. But if anybody sees me and they come up and say, I saw you on the All About Nothing podcast, you don't put a plant out there. Let it be natural. And
we'll let it happen organically.
Yeah, let it happen organically. And then I'll give that person a free t-shirt from the event.
Okay. All right. That doesn't mean that I can't replay this clip over and over.
You can.
And over.
You can replay it. Yeah.
Look, I'm not getting a free
But
T-shirt.
it's at the end of the podcast, so they got to watch through the whole thing.
That's correct.
So
they got to watch through the whole thing.
Oh,
all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to wrap it up. But you go ahead.
Well, no. I was just saying, like you and Zach were mentioning earlier that you have all these interviews and all this other stuff. I want to get that. I want you to give that to me so I can put it on our YouTube page so we can get you more views.
I can do that.
Yes, please do. Please do.
It's all audio, but I'll put it on a background. So I'll give you video of that. So
we transfer and all that stuff.
I can give you segments as well to that you can put on the Instagram and the Facebook and stuff. That just little clips.
Cool.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much, Donald Brock Jr. of the coordinator of the Soda City Comic Con, Coastal Comic Con, and Boardwalk Comic Con. You can check out all of their websites for information, but the big one coming up again, Coastal Comic Con, March 1st and 2nd at Wilmington Convention Center in Wilmington, North Carolina. Please go get tickets because this is going to be a phenomenal event. We want to see a big crowd come out and have a really good time. So again, thank you very much, Donald Brock, for being on the show. That is going to do it for episode number 239. Thank you very much for listening. Links to past episodes, podcast platforms, merchandise, social media are all available at our website, theallaboutnothing.com. And if you think our financial model of giving away free content, my mouth is starting to slip. If you think our financial model of giving away free content and entertainment is silly and you're in the giving mood, why not become an official Nothinger and support the show monthly? Members get early access to this episode as well as exclusive content, or you can make a one-time donation through the same link. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can call and leave us a message, 803-672-0533, or you can email the show at theallaboutnothing.com. You can join our Discord server as well. Links available at theallaboutnothing.com. Thank you again, Donald Brock, for being on. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. You all stay safe, be kind, and have a great week, and keep your hands to yourself.
All right, Barrett. Thanks, buddy.
The All About Nothing podcast is a product of Big Media and produced and engineered by me, Barrett Gruber. Thanks to Cake for our intro music, Sick of You. You can follow everything Cake the band at cakemusic.com. Thanks to Muff the producer for our outro music. You can follow Muff on Instagram at Muff the producer. I am Barrett Gruber. You can follow me across social media by visiting Linktree/Barrett Gruber. You can follow Zach King on social media at GarnetKing07. Want to support the show? Visit our webpage at theallaboutnothing.com and become a member. There are several tiers available that give you early access to episodes as well as exclusive content. To find links to our social media, podcast platforms, and merchandise to support the show as well as past episodes, visit theallaboutnothing.com. If you'd like, you can be a part of the show. Email the show at theallaboutnothing.com, or you can call our number and leave a message. Dial 803-672-0533. If the time between these episodes is more than you can handle, check out our sister shows, including What the Pod Was That with Carrie, Zach, and myself, Welcome to Wonderland with Me, and Black, White, and Blue in the South with Dr. Jameel Brooks and Bill Kimmler. Please subscribe and share this show. If you're on YouTube, please hit the subscription button and punch that notification bell. Thank you for listening, and hear us next week. The preceding podcast is a product of Big Media and copyright 2025, all rights reserved.